that time of year again where Satisfactory updates and news started to slow down as summer vacation starts to kick in. However, when I was on my holidays viewing ballistic missiles from my house and escaping Beirut, Satisfactory released 2 new updates. Firstly, we have update 1.1.0.6. This was a smaller update that dropped on the 9th of June of this year. Of course, we've then had update 1.1, which I've covered extensively over the last couple of months, so feel free to check out any of my videos talking about that. That was then followed by update 1.1.1.1, which I know looked like a mistake in the title, but that's what the update's called. And that came out on the 18th of June of this year. And again, in this update, there were more bug fixes, localization news, and some controller updates as well. So if you guys like these news and update videos, do let me know in the comments down below, and I'll continue to make more of them. But without further ado, let's get straight into the 2 updates. Starting with update 1.1.0.6, where the very first thing that they fixed was an invert mouse look not working properly for keyboard and mouse and controller from the previous patch. So obviously when they do introduce new updates, do expect there to be problems and bugs, so it's fantastic that they were able to fix that so quickly. And that did seem like a pretty major issue for anyone who wanted to use the inverted mouse look. Secondly, they fixed the camera shake from the intro carrying over if the intro was skipped. I mean, that would probably be quite annoying, so I'm glad that they managed to fix that. They also fixed blueprints exiting nudge mode when confirming auto connections, again, fantastic, as well as fixing blueprint auto connections and not appearing for connections behind the blueprint. So I would assume what this means is that if you had a blueprint that you wanted to auto connect to something over here, and there was another blueprint in the way, it wouldn't connect, but now it does. That's what it sounds like at least, which if that is a fix, that's fantastic. There's also another bug fix here to do with the auto connection, and that is fixed a blueprint auto connection incorrectly confirming connections that aren't valid without the link icon in the hologram. So rather than an output connecting to an input, it tells you that it's there, whilst in reality there's nothing there, at least that's what it sounds like. Of course, if you have encountered any of these problems, do also let me know in the comments down below. Have they been fixed? Are you still noticing them? And are there any new bugs that you might have noticed since 1.1 came out? We've also got some potential fixes for multiple reliable messaging related crashes. I'm guessing that refers to when the game crashes rather than like actual crash sites in the game, so that's good as well. Although I never really noticed that being a problem. Clearly it was. In addition to that, they also fixed the chainsaw mode selection wheel being missing and the modes not working properly. Since update 1.1, there's now a single mode with the chainsaw. What this essentially means is that if you only want to get rid of one tree, you can now just get rid of that one tree using a chainsaw, not all the bushes and leaves and trees around it. So that's incredible. Clearly there was a bit of a bug with it, so now they fixed it, which is fantastic. The very final bug fix for update 1.1.0.6 is that they fixed being unable to search in the drone port destination list. Obviously, I can imagine this one being rather annoying, especially when you are dealing with quite a lot of drones. And that is the list of our bug fixes for update 1.1.0.6. So now let's move over to the controller fixes as well as the localization fixes as well. Starting with the controller, and I've got to be honest, I don't know what this means. The fixed being unable to close the UI after doing a search with no results and moving to the cost part of the UI. So doing a search with no results, I'm guessing that's scanning for items. But the cost part of the UI, is that when you use your build gun? I don't generally know what this means. Maybe you guys do, and again, if you do comment down below, because we fixed it apparently, so that's great. But I don't know what that means. Luckily, I do know what the localization stuff is. So firstly, they've updated community translated languages with the latest translations, fantastic. And they've also updated the language completion rates, which again is fantastic. Now, talking very quickly about update 1.1, like I've mentioned, I've covered it extensively on the channel before, but there was one screenshot I didn't talk about, and I don't know what any of this means. If this ends up being important, I will leave a pinned comment at the very top of today's video, sort of like breaking it down. But as far as what I can tell, it's just a bunch of like computer stuff. Right, moving on now to update 1.1.1.1. And again, we've got a decent amount of bug fixes. So let's start with the very first one, where they've got a potential fix for dedicated server crashes when unequipping the zipline. I don't use dedicated servers, and I most certainly don't use ziplines, so if you guys do use the dedicated server, again, is it better now? Have they fixed it? Because again, this is only a potential fix, which means they are fully aware about the issue and they are trying to fix it, and I'm guessing for most accounts they have fixed it, but again, it's a potential fix, but still a step in the right direction regardless. Furthermore, there's a fix for conveyor belts that have been built using the blueprint auto connections not working after saving and reloading. So apparently as well, it's existing conveyor belts that are affected by this issue, so they'll have to be rebuilt to work properly after the fix. Fixed blueprint auto connection, sometimes flipping the direction of the hologram when building a blueprint that contained railways. They also fixed welcome screen showing up on every launch on Steam, and the very final thing they did was a potential fix the crash in multiplayer related to conveyor chain replication data. Now let's talk about some more controller fixes. So for the controller, they fixed the UI button hint for the value, great. They adjusted behavior when adjusting the valve limit with the D-pad, great. They've also fixed focus loss issues when changing the session settings or session type whilst disconnecting from the EOS. And lastly, they fixed the welcome screen not being interactable in some scenarios for the Steam Deck. Great changes there for the controller, very niche changes, which is fantastic to see, because bear in mind, update 1.1 is out now, so there shouldn't really be too many more bug fixes for them to do. And then lastly, for localization, they've updated community translated languages with the latest translations, they've updated language completion rates, and there's also fixes for multiple missing localization bugs. But of course, everything that I've just read out there since update 1.1.1.1 is the very first update since update 1.1 officially released into the main game. So there probably won't be too many more bug fixes now into update 1.2 on experimental, and don't ask me when that's going to come out, I've got no idea. I mean, it's probably going to be November, maybe December for experimental, the main game. I'm just guessing at that point, I've got no idea. But overall, these bug fixes, localization fixes, and controller fixes weren't too bad. There wasn't a very long list. I released a video about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago now, where I talked about another previous update, and the list for that was actually rather long compared to this, so it seems like they have squashed almost all the bugs that they wanted to, which is fantastic, on controller, localization stuff as well, and just overall bug fixes, so that is very, very good to see. But of course, if you guys are encountering any more bugs, feel free to comment it in the description or in the comments down below, or go over to their website. Again, I'll leave a link to their website in the pinned message below as well, so you can go leave your bug, so maybe they can try and fix it. But like I mentioned towards the start of today's video, they are going to be going on summer vacation, and I don't know when they'll be coming back. My guess is going to be at the very start of September, like when schools go back, so there is going to be a pretty big gap now between essentially Satisfactory content, so don't expect pretty much anything from the game now until, again, like at least end of September, so that's something to take into consideration. But regardless, thank you guys very much for watching. Again, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And thank you very much for tuning in. Have an amazing rest of your day. And remember, Godspeed and goodbye.